Welcome to At Your Service, the service management podcast on the CRM Audio Network, with your hosts, Business Solutions MVPs Sarah Jelinek, Scott LaFonte, and Sean Tabor. Resco is a leading provider of mobile solutions for Dynamics 365. Resco Mobile CRM is an invaluable tool for the field service engineer working in field service for Dynamics 365. Other solutions from Resco include Route Planner, which combines geographic and calendar data, even taking into account variables such as traffic and weather, to ensure that your field agents plan the optimal route possible to their work sites. Resco also offers inspections, which allows you to create, assign, complete, and evaluate field inspections with ease. Inspections enables you to shape every step of your inspection process. For more information on these solutions, or to request a demo for any of their offerings, visit www.resco.net. We thank Resco for sponsoring this episode of At Your Service. Welcome to another episode of At Your Service, the service-related podcast on the CRM Audio Network. We're splitting up the team today. In the top end of the podcast, you'll hear myself and the Dynamics 365 diva herself, Miss Sarah Jelinek. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sean.
And then a little later in the show, we're gonna visit with Mr. LaFonte and all his knowledge. He's on assignment somewhere at a baseball field in Florida, I believe, getting rained on right now. So we'll talk to him in a little bit. But Sarah, how's everything going?
Good. I'm kind of sad that Scott's not here, but I'm thinking I think I have an understanding of why you probably split us up, so we both can't team up on you maybe, or it's just
well. See, this way what I figure is you and I record and we get all the good stuff, and then Scott comes in, and then when he badmouths me, we have a lot to edit.
Oh,
right?
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
Then it makes it nice and seamless.
Yeah. Well, one of these days we'll get to record together again. So it's all good.
Exactly. Well, we are going to do. We have quite a few events coming up, and we're going to talk about those. But there's some opportunities. We'll be recording. Oh, there's my dog. We'll be recording together probably in a couple weeks. So when we're recording now, this episode will be coming out right before Business Application Summit. That's the week of the 22nd through the 24th in Seattle, and lots of stuff's going to happen there. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the things I wanted to talk about first. We talked a little bit about this on CRM Audio, on the last CRM Audio episode, but I wanted to talk specifically about how it impacts field service, project service, and customer service, given that they're core apps, and that's the new update cadence that was just recently announced. Have you read about that?
I have, in that Microsoft is looking to do, your two major updates, kind of in line with how they do Microsoft Office 365 and Windows, with updates in April and October. So
Right.
having those two major dates, which it's exciting and I don't want to say scary. I want to say it is exciting. It can be a challenge sometimes with wondering, okay, what's coming out and how is this going to help enable us to better use Dynamics 365 for customer engagement, customer service, sales, project service, field service, all that. How is it going to help us better use it because of the new functionality coming out quickly? But then also to plan for that and to say, okay, how quickly will something come out that do we need to adapt for right now and wait till that update comes out? So I think it's exciting. It's good to have a regular schedule and to know that something is going to come out at a pretty regular basis.
Right. And what's really key about this to me is historically, for larger enterprise customers dealing with big call centers and such, we always had that buffer right? We'd have a new release come out, and we'd have a buffer in terms of when they had to adopt.
Right.
And that gave them some flexibility, gave them some time to do their analysis and testing with their customizations and such. Because as we all know, there's never been a call center implemented completely out of the box ever, ever,
Right.
ever. so, so with this new cadence, there is capabilities that they've announced to allow folks to test it in a sandbox prior to the go live. But I'm wondering what that really means, how much time they will actually have before they have to go full bore into the solution. That's going to be interesting, especially for those call centers, field service implementations, project service implementations, where we have some complexity with some code changes.
Right.
And USD, obviously, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even just for example, going from USD 2.2 to just 3.2 as an example, because you're dealing with those larger call centers. I mean, I've even noticed that there's been just some small, slight changes in how things operate, or how, like if you've got a Windows navigation rule and how that performs, and all the action calls that are happening, that something doesn't quite perform the same way with each of those. So how do you accommodate for that? And it is going to be a lot of testing, a lot of just diving deep into that, and having the time and the resources to do that. In your larger call centers, you probably do have that capability to do that, but yeah, you still need people working. So to accommodate for that, it's gonna be an interesting challenge. But I think I like the idea of having that preview capability to be able to see it and see, okay, how's this going to affect me, and being able to know when that update occurs, that we're ready, we've anticipated everything, and we're not having any frantic calls into support for anything.
Well, and I think what it also provides for partners like us, it provides an opportunity to provide a next level kind of service to our customers, right? I think, because having knowledge ahead of time on what those features and functions are, like for example, Microsoft is starting to release notes, or create release notes sooner than they used to historically. You saw that with the spring release, and you're going to see that coming up in a week or so with the fall release. Releasing those release notes. Can I say release a couple more times? I'm going to try.
You're doing great.
Sending out those release notes at least a couple months ahead of the new package. So being able to read about it is one thing, but really understanding what that means to your environment and your implementation, that's where I think the partner network can really step up their game and help their customers with an added level of service. And, whether that's billable or not, that's up to that partner and how their business works. But I think given the way that Microsoft is now providing the information ahead of time, providing the documentation, and our understanding of the platform, I think there's a great opportunity there. But it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to really get. I think they have till February 2019 if you're an 8.2 customer to get on the current platform. So there's a little bit of room for this first fall release, but after that, it will be interesting to see how that goes next spring.
Absolutely, and I think that's one thing, like you mentioned, to kind of keep in mind that, granted, all these new releases coming out in April and October doesn't mean that those are the cutoff dates. That's you're going to be forced to do that. You do have a little bit of leeway to try and get to that point. But they're giving you a nice advance notice on that to say, hey, start looking to get onto this latest, which, for some people, it's like, I'm kind of used to how it is. We just got it. People are adopting it. People are good. And now we're going to go from another version and different experience. But, change is constant, and in many cases, change is good. And I'm looking forward to seeing, with twice a year updates, how much further we can take this in a short amount of time.
Right. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how this also impacts the on-premise customer, because with this cadence happening guaranteed every April and every October. Um, how does that impact the on-premise customer? Are they going to get further behind? Are we going to start to see more hybridization of capabilities where you can stay on the core on-prem server-based solution, but most of your new extensions or your new functionalities and capabilities are going to be in the cloud, and you're going to have to connect to that, but you can still keep your database on the ground, that kind of thing. I'm curious to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, that is a good question because I know that with this version, I always hear the question of on premise. When is that coming? When is that coming? And I think like one of the benefits of being on premise is that you can take your time and kind of see how things play out, so to speak, and how that functionality works. And for some, they say get the kinks worked out, right?
Right.
And but that's interesting. I mean, to come up with kind of a hybrid solution like that to say, okay, well, I really want to use this functionality. So how could we best do that?
Right. A great
Yep.
example of that is Dynamics 365 for marketing. That's completely in the cloud, but if you're on-prem, you can still sign up for marketing and use that. So, and with their dual use licensing, they're moving in that direction anyway. So that'll be really interesting to see. And also what this means is there's essentially no more customer driven update. So there's no more scheduling. There's no more picking a date when you want it, that kind of thing. It's going to be more, here's when it's coming, you better prepare.
Right.
So that will be very interesting. And in speaking specifically of USD, you said you were playing around with 3.3, right?
Yeah, just starting to explore that for an upgrade that we've got coming up, and just looking at some of the functionality that's available and things I'm excited to see with 3.3. I know it's going to work better for Microsoft's eventual, I don't say enforcement of utilizing TLS 1.2 and USD 3.3 is going to help with that. With internet browsers needing to have that that level of security enabled. Thanks to all the attacks and stuff that we have around the world on cyber attacks and so forth. But that being a big reason for people to push to the latest and greatest. But not just because of that, but because of some of the other features that are available. Just looking at the list of some of the features that they talk about is, we always heard about unified interface, and we know that in 8.2 was kind of under the umbrella called Interactive Service Hub. And USD had some challenges working with that. Well, in 3.3, we're going to have a preview capability, which we know if it's preview, hopefully it's going to get to where it's going to be official. But being able to work with unified interface in 9.0. And I know for some people, it's a really nice interface. It's going to be a little bit faster for people. It's a little bit more efficient. Just looking at some of the screenshots of how you can work with that in Unified Service Desk, it just looks sharp. It doesn't look like I'm using a client application. It looks, it looks crisp and clean, and it just melds into the interface that we have. So being able to build solutions with that, and having some of that functionality like the timeline, the collapsible business process flow that we see at the top, and utilizing those capabilities like our knowledge search or case call script at the same time. Being able to have all that, I think, just is really going to help your call centers or really anyone that wants to have that nice controlled interface. For those of us that provide support for it, I think one of the biggest things is the best practices analyzer. Being able to see, all right, do we have way too many Windows navigation rules? Are we opening way too many sessions at a time? Being able to kind of collect that diagnostic and say, okay, maybe we need to improve this area. And just ensuring that people are using supported hardware and software to run this. So when they're complaining about performance, well, it's not the tool, it's the environment it's running on. So I'm excited to see some of that capability as well. So some really good features. Like I say, I'm just starting to get into it and work with it more, which I know it's been out for a little while, but I'm excited where this is going. I'm excited that Microsoft continues to invest in this to help streamline the process for a lot of customers.
And did I see? I might have this wrong, so forgive me if I do. But did I see that with 3.3, there's a more improved way for call center analysts to switch environments if they need to. Like if they're, for example, working in a global environment and they have to go into different USD sessions to support different global customers. Is there improved capabilities there to do that easier than we used to be able to?
So like, are we talking about like different session management or?
Yeah.
So yeah, having the capability to have multiple sessions open is always a benefit. And I think one of the things to help them with that process is, being able to, I think, have a little bit more reliability with the running back with that internet process. And trying to think of the best term to describe this is, if Internet Explorer encounters a fault, it's got better recovery mode for that.
Okay.
So being able to have that capability, but I love the idea of having session control and keeping all my customers' information separate. So that continues to be an advantage of using Unified Service Desk.
We're working with 3.3 on an implementation currently as well, and we're doing some kind of interesting things in terms of how we're able to pull applications into the experience a little better. For example, they have a telephony system that they don't want to fully integrate into USD. They want to just pop up a window or expose some data. So we're integrating in that fashion, and it seems to be a little bit more intuitive, a little easier to do than it was in prior versions. But
okay, yeah. So the other line of business applications and bringing that capability in,
right,
absolutely,
right, yeah. So that's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. But that brings up a interesting thought with the unified interface coming to USD and coming to field service and coming to project service, and we already have the customer service hub, right? Mm-hmm. We're starting to see less and less delta between the web client and unified client.
Absolutely.
Yep. So in your projects, because before it was a thought, is this a fit to use a unified interface? Should we do something here? But it was never like we had to, mm-hmm. right? Now, I sent an email earlier this week to Scott and some of the others on our team saying next week we have to get a plan for a unified interface because our timeline on our project, we may have to be there, mm-hmm. right? So it's a different kind of feeling than we had before where, let's see if we could use unified interface because it's slick, because it's neat.
Right.
Whereas now it's more like, okay, I have two clients. Which one do we need to use? Even if we don't use unified interface at launch, we have to have it ready and configured. We have to have it at par, mm-hmm. for what we're doing. So I thought that was interesting that we're at that spot now.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking of that the other day. It's like, okay, well, we've got this nice timeline feature. Being able to see some of that capability. One of the, and this is might be cosmetic, but one of the questions or common requests I get is, that business process flow is kind of great for some people, but it takes up too much space. Mm-hmm. And just that little bit of functionality there, and do we always have to have our developers go and, suppress it somehow through code, mm-hmm. and it's one of those challenges. But I mean, I really do like that look, and I think. When people are watching the videos and they're seeing when they're investigating is Dynamics 365 a fit for us? Right. Those are the videos that they're seeing is that nice crisp interface. And I was just thinking with my team the exact same thing. We need to look at starting to move to this because this is where we're seeing the investment of this interface and the capabilities that we have, and making it, I think, run more efficiently. People mm-hmm. talk about performance. Sometimes it's just that web interface that we're trying to, we're challenged with working with. Right. And I think that the UI is going to be a lot snappier for people. So, we have to get to that point where, for those of us who've been around since 3.0 or even earlier, and this is the web client, the classic interface is what we've had for so long, we need to change as well and see that this is this is going to be the nice way to go. And I know that they're continuing to make those small changes, like when we talked about the release notes and seeing the unified interface. And, I think Mohammed was talking about the tabs that we have across the top, having that scroll with us. I mean, those things are coming. Those changes are there. So I'm absolutely excited for it. And, it's going to be a challenge to get kind of us old timers that have been working on it for a while to adapt, but it's going to get there. We're going to get there.
Yeah. Well, in our next episode, by that point, we should have release notes out, and I think we'll be trying to record from the Business Applications Summit. So we'll be talking about those in depth like we did in April. So that should be a good session. And you know what? I might have Mohammed get him back on. So that'd be fun. So with UCI, there's a lot of talk about that with the unified interface. There's a lot of talk about with the update cadence. Something I found this week, I haven't found much documentation on it, but something I found is we updated our field service solution within our environment, within one of our sandbox environments, and what popped up in the system is a new object. And I'm not sure if you've seen this before, but it was called, under the settings menu, there's a new section called upgrade logs, and there's a entity called upgrade run. And it gives you details on upgrades of managed solutions from Microsoft. So field service, project service, etc. Right? Whenever they push an update, or whenever you try to initiate an install or an update, one of these records are going to be created. And what this does is it gives you some base information, essentially kind of like an audit log, but it's not a permanent log. It's only there for a little while. But for example, our field service, we updated from, it shows the starting version of 7.5.0.60 and the target version to 7.5.1.37. And it shows it was successful. Now, prior to this, it failed like 15 times. So we kept seeing it was failing, and we, obviously we escalated through a case to Microsoft and got that resolved. But now we see that it was successful, and it also shows the duration. So it started on the 3rd of July at 5:03, and it was finished on July 3rd at 9:11. So it took about 4 hours to upgrade.
Oh, wow.
And it also gives you some details if there's any single version upgrades during the run. It'll show you the upgrade status, the starting version, the target version, and a summary. But it's a nice feature because now that that's here, I'm thinking out loud, I could theoretically create a flow to say, hey, whenever I have an upgrade run record that's either success or failure, send me a text. Let me know. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. When you mentioned this, I happen to be looking into an environment that we just set up and we just deployed the field service solution to. And, my update didn't take quite as long as yours. It actually took like a minute from 2:45 to 2:46. But, we can see that start date. We can see the success. And it's actually really neat. And I'm excited to see where this goes. And as you mentioned, it looks like to be for those managed solutions from Microsoft.
Yeah.
But so when you said it failed for you those previous times, did you see records like that in here at that
Every
point?
time it failed, I saw a new record. Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
So what this leads me to think is, again, extrapolating out my flow idea, I could theoretically have a flow send me a notification when it starts, when it's in progress, if it fails, all those different, statuses, I could get different notifications on if I wanted to. So that's a great way to keep on top of if Microsoft is updating, like they have monthly updates, right? If they're updating the solution, keeping you aware of that. If someone in your organization updates the solution, by either reinstalling it or removing it or what have you, you can get notified on that. So that's kind of an interesting concept, and I think I might write a blog post on that one.
Yeah,
So
that's very neat. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing more documentation on that because I think, like you say, you just searched and I searched to see if I could find anything, and hopefully that'll come out soon.
yeah.
If anyone's
So,
listening, we would really be excited to see something about that.
well, at the very least, I will find out more information at the Business Application Summit for sure.
Excellent.
So, and speaking of Business Application Summit, so I will be there from the pod, and Scott will be there. You're not going to be able to make it, right? Or
I
are you
don't
going to be
think
able
so.
to?
If I
Okay.
do, it'd be a wonderful moment to be there. I'm excited to just to have that opportunity to learn more, as you will. So
Yeah. Well, we're a sharing group, so whatever I learn, I will bring back to the
absolutely.
pod. And we are going to record from the conference, so that'll be fun. We're looking to try to line up a couple guests, one of which has some unified client experience, so that'd be a great get. So we'll more to come there. And I wanted to chat a little bit about some of the sessions that are going to be at Business Application Summit. So for those of you who will be there, or I can't remember if they're going to do anything streaming like they did in the past for Convergence, but just doing a quick check of, for example, going to the session builder or schedule builder and choosing Business Application Platform and Field Service. On Monday the 23rd, the very first one, 10:30, why you should move to Unified Interface in Microsoft Dynamics 365 and how to make it happen. And that's on my schedule, so I'll be going to that one. Then we have sessions like Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Common Data Service updates and upgrades. We have leveraging the Outlook integration with Dynamics 365 to drive success. And then on Tuesday, there's a couple of really neat ones. For example, custom controls and advanced client-side business logic for model-driven Power Apps. That's a neat one.
That does sound exciting.
There's
everything
a lot
you're
of Power
saying
Apps
so
content.
far. Yeah. And we saw that at CRM User Group Focus, which I know, Sean, you weren't able to attend, but
right.
There was a lot of sessions talking about utilizing the new Common Data Service, CDS 2.0, working with Power Apps, and those were highly attended sessions. People are excited to see what capabilities we're going to have with that. So very excited for you to be able to attend all these.
Yeah, it's going to
be
share
that knowledge.
I will be bringing it right back for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's going to be neat, and we're during the conference we'll be recording at your service. We'll be recording a Power Apps podcast, and we'll be recording CRM audio. So,
will you guys have any time to attend sessions with all those recordings?
I'm not sure. It's either going to be I'll get to attend sessions and record podcasts, but not sleep, or not eat. I might have to pick one of those. So,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, that should be interesting. But the big thing I'm looking forward to with the Business Application Summit is the release of the upcoming October functionality and those notes and letting us know what's coming. If the April release notes is any guide to us, it's going to be a ginormous document. So it'll be a lot to consume, but we will on the next episode we will definitely churn through as much as we can, and it may be again a multi-parter like it was last time,
right?
Because there's so much. So
absolutely, and it's at an event too, which is even more exciting. I don't remember if the April one was released at an event.
It was released right after the MVP summit.
Okay.
So it didn't. I don't remember if it was coordinated with an event or not. Maybe Inspire. Maybe I can't remember, but yeah.
I'm excited. I hope when you guys are there, I'm sure there hopefully will be some standing ovations for some functionality that's going to come out. I just hope, because that was the case when they talked about at CRM UG Summit. That the editable grids. I mean,
Oh yeah.
like we talked about, Jujar could have just dropped the mic at that point, and that was good because everyone was super excited. So
Yeah.
I would hope that there's something like that we just go, yes, thank you.
Yes.
We're so
I'm
happy.
hoping so too. I'm hoping so too. And we're I've said this in the past, but we're gonna try to maybe go live on our Facebook page while we're at the Business App Summit. We'll see if we can do that. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. But lots to come at the Business App Summit. So, well, I think we're at about 30 minutes. So there was a lot we covered.
Absolutely.
In a very short amount of time. But let's do one last reminder to everybody out there. We are, oh my Lord, we are like 3 weeks away from the D365 UG Virtual Service Summer Camp. There's going to be a link in the show notes, like it always is. But if you're interested, we have a lot of amazing speakers. Sarah, for one.
Sean, for another. And Scott.
And Scott. We're also going to have Ben Vollmer. We're going to have Ulrich Carlson. We have Britta Rekstad. We have who else? Neil Benson. We have Sarah Critchley, Chris Huntingford. I mean, basically, I think Jonas is going to be talking about Fetch XML Builder. Jonas Rapp. It's going to be great. I mean, there's so much content. We have like 45 different sessions over 3 days, and we still are trickling in a few more here and there. So it's very exciting. The website's up. Again, link in the show notes. Check that out. But please register. It's free. Doesn't cost a dime, and it's going to be a lot of great content. So we're excited about that.
Absolutely. To be a good time. And if you have 3 days, take 3 days off just to attend these, just so you can get the full experience.
Well, and you know what?
Watch it afterwards.
Exactly.
We're all busy.
Exactly. Yep. That's the best part. You can bookmark those things and check them out later. So going to be a lot of good content. Even if you can't make it live, we'll have some content for you on the D365 UG site. So, well, Sarah, this has been fun.
As always, it's a good time with you. Yep.
But you know what? I got to go talk to Scott now.
All right. Well, tell him hi from me, and have a great time at Business Application Summit if I don't see you there.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
And off to Scott. Well, we are back with Scott LaFonte, back from assignment. What assignment you were on, I have no idea.
Top secret. I can't tell you.
Was that what it is?
That's right.
Okay. So, well, at least you're back. And you just, for those of you who are listening, Sarah was just here, and we had a lot of good stuff we covered there. And she told me to say hi, so I'm doing that.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now you say hi to Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
There you go.
I will be on the next one. I promise.
The circle is now complete.
That's right.
All right. So there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. First off, we're going to Business Application Summit next week. It's pretty exciting. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
It's going to be far too long in a plane with you, but we'll deal with that, separately. But once we're there in Seattle, which the weather looks like it's going to be nice for us, what are you excited about? What are you going to be up to?
Well, let's see. Well, besides meeting up with some of our favorite consultants or consultant at Hitachi for some ramen. I'm really looking forward to the field service and project service sessions. And what I'm really excited about is Sunday, which is the pre-summit sessions.
Right.
Going to be helping out our friend Ben Vollmer with the connected field service session. I think it's from 9 to 4. So it's going to be a long time with Ben. I may have to have a little bit caffeine to and some earplugs, but
high energy. Got to be high energy.
That's
Bring
right.
it up.
That's right.
Cool. That's cool. That's a great opportunity. And I understand why Ben didn't ask me, because he knows I don't need to be anywhere around IoT right now, and that's fine. So I'm okay with that. It's okay.
Well, he's gonna have he's gonna have some cool new devices too, so I'm excited about that.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, so that should be a really great session, and it's always fun to learn a little bit more about connected field service, especially from someone like Ben that has a lot of knowledge about it and can give you some really good practical examples on how it can be used. So that'll be fun. For me, I'm going to be focusing a lot on Power Apps and customer service is where I'm going to try to stake my claim. With our specialties, it makes a little more sense if we divvy it up that way, because obviously we're going to share the information anyway. So, and what's going to be great is when we get back from Business Application Summit, we'll be sharing that information with you guys listening in now, to let you know what we heard. So hopefully we can share some of our experiences, and hopefully, if all works out well, we should be having a few additional interviews for the podcast from Business Application Summit. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah. I know I'm excited. Dan Gittler, for those out there for Universal Resource Scheduling, is supposed to be there and meet up with us. So I'm really excited about meeting him. He's been fantastic with the updates with URS, and not even just the updates to the product, but the documentation for it. If anyone goes out there as to what's new and in the Dynamics 365 world with the updates, what he's been putting out there has just been fantastic.
Absolutely, and it's really cool to see the product mature as well as it is, how it's coming in its own, and it's really separate and apart from all the other modules, but complementary at the same time. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, especially if back from the Field 1 days when it was taken over. I mean, URS has just come so far. So super excited to meet him and pick his brain and see what he has to share with us. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, you betcha. So let's talk about, you just recently posted a blog article, the sequel to your project service resource utilization. So why don't we do a quick, for those who haven't read your blog post on atyourservicepod.com, for those of you wondering, talk real quick, give it like a Cliff Notes version of the first article and what you talked about, and then we can talk about the new article.
Sure. So the first article, or the prequel,
Nice.
really talked about what all goes into calculating resource utilization from a project service automation perspective. And so it talks about what you need to configure and enter on the resource, such as the work hours, what's required on a project. For example, you need a contract. Okay. What's the target utilization percentage of that resource or the resource's primary role that they may play. So you and I may play a senior architect on certain projects, and on another one, maybe we're playing something completely different. So it depends on what organizations want to do. And I tried to demystify that a little bit because it came up in conversations with folks about, well, I don't understand why this is not calculating. So I figured, okay, it'd be a good idea to kind of explain a little bit of what you need to set up in order to minimally get utilization to start showing up on the utilization board.
Okay.
So that was the first blog. The sequel goes into a lot more detail, and this actually came up after I posted the first one. I was getting some feedback, and it was great feedback from project service folks around the world to say, hey, have you tried this? Have you looked at this? Different scenarios. And some of them had to do with contracts and what type of contracts are on that project, whether it's time and material, it's fixed fee, all these different scenarios. And the premise is that in the past, it appeared there was either a limitation or a defect, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't allowing the calculation of utilization on fixed fee projects. So I said, well, let me explore that in a lot more detail. And in this blog post, I actually post probably about 20 or 30 different scenarios that I tested in all the different pieces and what's the outcome from does it generate utilization on the schedule board, on the utilization board.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. The one interesting thing I did find out is, so you and I typically, right, in our work schedule, we don't work on a Saturday or a Sunday. Those are our off days.
Right.
If we put in hours on that particular day, in the utilization grid, it will not show up for that day. So you'll go look at the board and it'll show blank, like a grayish color, and I'm colorblind, so it looks gray to me. But if you hover over the resource, it does factor into the calculation for your overall utilization. It just does not show up on that board because in your work hour or your work plan, you're not scheduled for that day. So that was pretty interesting, little tidbit of information.
So help me understand that. So it's not going to show on the grid, but it's still calculating in the utilization. How do you know, just unless you've configured those resources and know that intimately? So, for example, you could be a project manager who didn't create the resource, right? But they're leveraging the resource on a project. How am I going to know as a project manager that their utilization is being properly calculated?
Yeah, and that is the magic question. And there's really two ways you can do that. So if you're looking at the resource utilization board and you're looking at it from a daily perspective, and in the blog I have a screenshot that shows Saturday and Sunday for this resource, and he's not working. And I actually put in hours for that day and it didn't show up. It's blank. So if you look at the daily view, it doesn't show up. Now, if you go to a weekly or a monthly view, then it does calculate into that percentage for the week and for the month. So that's where you would then go into say, okay, well, he was off these days, but I know he worked. So let me look at the week and the month and make sure it's calculating correctly. The other thing, of course, you can do is you can go ahead and look at the time entries for that individual if you're a project manager, and if you wanted to do it that way. I know other folks have done Power BI dashboards for a lot more comprehensive utilization and even projected or forecasted utilization.
Okay.
And I think that's our good friend Chris Huntingford and Kyle Hill have kind of put some stuff together on that.
All right, very cool. The sequel is quite a good blog article. I recommend, everybody listening, if you get a chance, go out to the atyourservicepod.com site and check out Scott's two blog posts on project service, resource utilization, the prequel and the sequel. I guess the prequel is actually what you need to know about project service resource.
That's true, and maybe there'll be a trilogy. We'll see.
Whoa. Getting a little nervous. What else are you going to dive into?
That's the thing. I mean, it's amazing how much there is on project service in terms of documentation and just what you need to know, not just from our utilization. So maybe not on utilization. Maybe we'll dive more into contracts next time, because I think that's a big unknown.
There you go.
And a lot of folks aren't very comfortable with it, don't understand how typically it works. How does it factor into certain things? Even when you're looking at the actuals. And then, for example, let's just take journals, right? So you put in time and it's wrong.
Right.
And you need to back something out. How does that impact the project? How does it impact the contract? So those are all good things to know. And don't be scared to go in and start playing around. That's how I learn a lot of times. And there's a lot of great project service folks out there willing to jump in and help out. So it's great.
There you go. Well, I think the last thing I think we need to touch on is, while I think this episode will go out before we hit the Business Application Summit, if it does, cross fingers, and you see one of us in our CRM audio t-shirts, come say hi. Maybe there'll be something in it for you. Who knows? But yeah, come see us. Come introduce yourself. Let us know you listen to the pod. We'd love to be able to meet you and get to know our listeners out there. So
Yeah, and as always, I mean, if folks have, and I do get this from time to time on Twitter, so I appreciate everyone out there who reaches out to me. If you have suggestions on what you'd like to see in a blog or a podcast, please reach out to either myself or Sean on Twitter. And Sean is
or
CRM
Sarah.
Hobbit, or Sarah Jelinek, myself, or Sean Tabor, and we'd be happy to take a look at that and get that on the calendar and into the machine, so to speak.
Exactly.
And get working.
And who knows? Maybe if it's a good enough topic, we don't know anything about it. Maybe you'll be a guest. Who knows?
Who knows?
So, but yeah, we love being able to talk to you guys and get some feedback. And and I guess we'll update you from the Business Application Summit next week. And until then, I think it's time to send it over to Agnes for some more great information from the fine folks at Resco. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
All right. Take it away, Agnes.
Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. My name is Agnes. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Resco, and this week I'm going to go over a little bit about our mobile reports with you, with our Resco Cloud technology and what the app itself in Resco can do. So just a brief overview. The mobile report is actually a feature. This allows you to create an invoice, for example, or a service report at the customer's office and directly save it to the CRM record as an attachment, or you can directly send it to the customer's email address, or you can even print it out readily with a wireless printer. And documents can actually be generated in PDF or Word documents or as an Excel or even in HTML formats. It's also possible to use one or more of the records as a source for the report. So to define a mobile report, you can actually use the mobile report designer in Woodford, which is our customization tool, or directly edit it as an XML file. So the mobile report definition is saved in the CRM as a record and can be used across all mobile projects in your organization. So the mobile report supports all the needed items, like having a header and a footer replicated on all pages of the generated document, repeaters, or for repetitive elements like invoice products for an invoice, and of course adding any field from entities in the CRM that are needed for the final document. A specific chapter we can discuss later on is the possibility in adding images. So they can actually be added as static images, same for all mobile report documents, like a company logo or a dynamic one, like adding a signature out of a note or a cloud document associated to the CRM record used for the report generation. This allows you to, for example, add images of a product or a service item used at the customer site, or adding a signature of the customer or technician directly to the generated document itself. And if there's ever a need to make a report dynamically, it is possible to add business logic to the report, allowing you to perform additional calculations, so making certain items invisible or visible under specific calculations. And the cherry on the top, the mobile report is fully integrated in the Resco mobile app, and using JavaScript, you can not only just streamline the process of generating the mobile report, but also generating the whole mobile report definition on the go. Hope this was helpful, so stay tuned for another week with Resco, and take care.
On behalf of myself, Sean Tabor, my co-host Scott LaFonte, and the Dynamics 365 diva Sarah Jelinek, we thank you for listening and subscribing to the podcast. You can reach us at voice@crm.audio. On Twitter, you can follow us, CRM Hobbit for me, for Scott, at FLD Service _Guru, and of course, at Dyne365 Diva for Sarah. For more information and content about what we spoke about on this episode and others, visit our blog at atyourservicepod.com. This has been At Your Service on the CRM Audio Network, a production of Dynamic Podcasts, LLC.